The sky over Pinewood Estates split open with the roar of a helicopter, its blades slashing through the dusk like a warning. Below, Sarah Whitaker stood on her front lawn, heart pounding, as the machine hovered above the orderly rows of suburban homes. The noise was deafening, whipping up leaves and dust, shattering the usual calm of sprinkler hums and distant dog barks. The pilot's spotlight swept the cul-de-sac, searching for a place to land, but a line of neighbors, led by Vincent Caldwell, the unyielding head of the Pinewood Homeowners Association, stood in defiance, while VYing their arms to block the descent. Sarah's hands shook as she gripped her phone, the memory of her 911 call still raw. "Help is coming," the operator had said. That help was here now, carrying a medical team to save her closest friend, Ellen Ramsey, who lay unconscious in her Lee VYing room just steps away. But Vincent, with his crisp blazer and obsession with rules, had other ideas. "No landing here," he shouted, his voice sharp over the rotors. "This VYOLAT's our bylaws." The word bylaws hit Sarah like a punch. Ellen was fighting for her life, and Vincent was worried about regulations. She shoved through the crowd, her voice breaking as she grabbed his sleeve. "Vincent, stop this. Ellen's dying. Let them land." His eyes, cold and unwavering, met hers. "This is a private community, Sarah. No emergency vehicles land without prior approval. You know the rules." "Rules?" Sarah's voice cracked with fury. "This is Ellen's life." The helicopter circled, its roar a desperate plea, but Vincent's loyalist neighbor Sarah had once swapped recipes with formed a human wall, signaling the pilot away. Sarah's chest tightened as she glanced at Ellen's house, where paramedics worked frantically, their radios crackling. It had happened so fast. 1 minute, they were sipping tea, laughing over Ellen's old travel photos. The next, Ellen clutched her chest, her face gray, and collapsed. Sarah's fingers had fumbled the 911 call, panic blurring her thoughts, but the operator's calm voice guided her. Paramedics arrived in minutes, but Ellen's condition was diarrhea heart attack, they said. The hospital was too far by road. The helicopter was her only shot. But Vincent stood firm, his arms crossed like a gatekeeper. "We can't set a precedent," he barked at the paramedics, who pleaded for a landing zone. The pilot tilted the chopper toward the community park, but Vincent's crew surged forward, shouting and pointing. Sarah's throat burned. She turned to the lead paramedic, a woman with a tight ponytail and tired eyes. "Please," Sarah begged. "Don't give up." "We're trying," the paramedic said. "But if we can't land, we'll have to drive." "She's not stable for that." Sarah's world tilted. She and Ellen had been inseparable for a decade through kids' graduations, shared vacations, and the quiet grief of Ellen's husband's death. Now, that bond was slipping away because of a man who valued order over humanity. The helicopter made one last pass, then banked toward the city hospital 8 miles away, its roar fading into a helpless hum. The paramedics loaded Ellen into an ambulance, monitors beeping faintly as Sarah followed in her car, tears streaming down her face. She sped past Vincent, standing smugly in the street, and her anger burned hotter than her fear. At the hospital, Sarah sat in the ER waiting room, the fluorescent lights buzzing like her thoughts. Hours dragged on, each minute a reminder of the delay Vincent had caused. Her phone buzzed with texts. Some neighbors apologized, others defended the HO, but she ignored them. All she could see was Ellen, pale and still, her laughter gone. A doctor approached, his face grim. "MS. Whitaker? I'm Dr. Lynn. Ellen's in the ICU. The heart attack was severe. The delay. It complicated things." Sarah's voice trembled. "Will she be okay?" Dr. Lynn hesitated. "We're doing all we can, but it's touch and go." Sarah nodded, her hands shaking as she stumbled to the ICU. Ellen lay there, tubes snaking from her arms, an oxygen mask fogging with each weak breath. Sarah held her hand, whispering, "Hang on, Ellen. I'm here." But Ellen didn't stir, her skin too cold. Dawn crept in, gray light seeping through the blinds. Just after sunrise, the heart monitor faltered, then flatlined. Nurses rushed in, their voices sharp, but Sarah knew. She stood frozen as they tried to revive Ellen, the scene a blur of motion. Minutes later, it was over. A nurse touched Sarah's arm. "I'm so sorry." Tears spilled as Sarah leaned over Ellen's still form. "I tried," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." In the hallway, she saw Vincent, his HOA badge gleaming like a taunt. "Sarah," he started, his tone awkward. "I heard about Ellen. She's dead." Sarah cut him off, her voice ablaze. "Because of you." Vincent flinched. "I was protecting the community. The bylaws." "Your bylaws killed her." Sarah's shout echoed, drawing stares. "You waved off a helicopter while she was dying. How do you sleep at night?" Vincent's mouth tightened. "I didn't want this. But I have a duty." "Duty?" Sarah stepped closer, her voice low and fierce. "Your duty cost me my best friend." "Live with that." She walked away, ignoring his stammered words, her grief and fury a tangled storm. Pinewood Estates buzzed with whispers in the days that followed. Some residents blamed Vincent, their anger quiet but real. Others clung to the HOA's mantra, insisting rules kept the neighborhood pristine. A local news segment hinted at the tragedy, a helicopter blocked by an overzealous HOA, and Sarah watched it, her hands trembling. She couldn't let Ellen's death fade into a cautionary tale. Ellen deserved justice. Grief could have crushed her, but it didn't. Instead, it fueled a fire. Sarah wrote a letter to the local paper, detailing how Vincent's obsession with rules had cost Ellen her life. The response was swift mails from strangers offering support, neighbors admitting they'd chafed under Vincent's control. She knocked on doors, sharing Ellen's story, urging change. Some hesitated, fearing Vincent's wrath find people for minor infractions, like unapproved mailboxes or wrong shrubs. But others listened, their own frustrations surfacing. Vincent fought back, stuffing mailboxes with flyers warning of chaos if rules were relaxed. Sarah tore one down, her resolve hardening. She wasn't just fighting for Ellen, she was fighting for Pinewood's heart. One evening, she met retirees at the community gazebo, their faces heavy with sympathy. Ellen was family, one said. "This can't stand." "It won't," Sarah replied. "But I need your help." They signed her petition to revise the HOA's emergency rules, and word spread. A news station called, wanting an inter-VYEW. Sarah stood outside Ellen's house, her voice steady as she recounted the tragedy. "This isn't just about Ellen," she said, tears in her eyes. "It's about a community that let rules outweigh a life. We have to do better." The inter-VYEW lit a spark. Residents who'd stayed silent spoke up, and Sarah's petition grew. She studied the bylaws, learning she could force a special meeting with enough signatures. The final one came from a shy neighbor, Clara, who approached Sarah at the park. "I lost my brother to a heart attack," Clara said softly. "If this saves someone, I'm in." The meeting was electric, the community hall packed with tense faces. Vincent took the podium, his voice smooth but strained. "We value safety," he said, "but we must protect our community from reckless changes." Sarah stood next, her petition heavy in her hands. "Ellen Ramsey was my friend," she said, her voice clear. "She died because we valued rules over her life. Today, we choose what kind of community we are, one that saves lives or one that hides behind bylaws." The crowd stirred, some nodding, others whispering. The floor opened, and voices clashed support for Sarah, mixed with fears of liability. But she felt the shift, saw it in the way people leaned forward. The vote was slow, ballots counted under harsh lights. Sarah's pulse raced as Vincent stood rigid, arms crossed. Finally, the treasurer spoke. With 67 fan-tram in favor, the amendment passes. Cheers erupted, a wave of relief crashing over Sarah. She closed her eyes, picturing Ellen's laugh. It couldn't bring her back, but it was something, a promise no one else would suffer like this. Vincent's face was tight, but he muttered, "We'll implement it." With protocols. Sarah didn't care. She'd won, and Pinewood would change. Weeks later, life calmed, but the air felt freer. The new bylaw was printed, a quiet VY Tory. Neighbors waved to Sarah, some hinting she should run for the HOA board. She laughed it off, but the idea lingered. One afternoon, she sighted Ellen's house, now being packed by her cousin. They sorted photos, smiling through tears. She'd be proud, the cousin said, handing Sarah a picture of them at a picnic. Sarah's voice broke. She deserved better. But I hope this honors her. Outside, the sky was clear, no helicopters in sight. Sarah looked up, feeling Ellen's absence, but also a spark of hope. Pinewood had learned a brutal lesson, paid for with a life. But if it saved someone else, Sarah thought, maybe that was enough. Maybe that was how you rebuilt one fight, one heart, one change at a time. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.